We have another new brand in the electric vehicle market, and while it's coming through with a little bit of a quietish launch, I think this is one we should really take seriously as being one of the few brands that might get a little bit close to delivering something like a Tesla. Introducing the Leapmotor C10. So what is a Leapmotor? Well, even by Chinese standards, Leapmotor is a relatively new brand, only launching in 2015. But it has some huge backing, having partnered with Stellantis Group. Stellantis, of course, is Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat, Jeep. It's a massive global conglomerate of brands, and they have done a deal to distribute Leapmotor around the world, including in New Zealand, where it's sitting alongside Peugeot and Citroën with the Armstrong Group, or Auto Distributors New Zealand. So some really big backing for a relatively small brand. Now they're launching in New Zealand with the C10. They've got another bigger SUV coming, and I'm sure some other vehicles in other markets. So it's being sold through 3 dealerships in New Zealand at the moment, and I think it's one that we're going to have to watch. So let's have a look at the C10. Now, at early impressions, this actually looks like a small SUV, but it's not. It's actually a medium to large SUV. Now, one of the reasons it looks smaller than it really is, I mean, for a start, because it's black, that'll do that, but also those wheels, those are 20-inch alloy wheels. So size-wise, this is bigger in some dimensions than a Mitsubishi Outlander, or definitely bigger than a Toyota RAV4, and pretty much around the measurements of a Tesla Model Y. Now, if we walk around, the bonnet up here, there's no frunk under there, and it's a little bit weird because this will be a PHEV in the future, so there'll probably be an engine under there at some point. But at the moment they have the inverter under the front and some of the hardware for the electrical system, but the motor's under the rear, so I still don't know why we couldn't have had a frunk up there. Now we have LED headlights, we have down here active grille shutters, so it can open and close the shutters in the grille depending on how much cooling it needs for its systems, but also maintaining better aerodynamics. And interesting with the aerodynamics for a city-focused family SUV is these big aero pass-throughs. They do actually run through to provide some aero over the wheels. Now this is a light bar in the middle here, but I suspect because we're close to Australia where those are banned, we don't get it as a light bar. Now, there's a camera on the front, there are cameras on the wing mirrors, there's cameras down here on the side, and a camera up in the windscreen here. Has a lot of cameras, has a great surround view camera system, and that is also used as part of the level 2 driver assistance, which we'll talk about and look at a little bit later. Now, we have these door handles. They're not the worst implementation of the whole four door handle. Still not entirely happy about them. And one thing I do like, and that is standard tinted windows on this single model specification. They have the one model and it comes with pretty much everything. The big wheels, the roof rails, the tinted windows. Stuff that you don't necessarily expect on an entry-level vehicle. Certainly not one of this price level, which we'll tell you at the end. If we come around here, we have the charging port, CCS Type 2, but it's not that fast. 84 kilowatt of fast charging. That's a little bit mediocre now and really kind of in line with some of the smaller vehicles in the market. It does, however, have 11 kilowatt AC and you do get vehicle to load functionality. Now, what is the battery? It's a 69.9 kilowatt hour LFP, 68 kilowatts usable with a 420 kilometer WLTP. And that WLTP is seriously genuine. Again, when we get to the drive section, we'll look at that. Now, if we come around to the boot, you got this big light bar around here. Again, these lights, C10 badging, and then you open the boot with the push of this button. The boot itself is really good. So I'll put the numbers up on screen. But again, more than a Toyota RAV4, up there with a Mitsubishi Outlander, but still behind a Tesla Model Y, depending on how you count it. We have a nice flat load floor here. We have some storage under the floor alongside the tire foam kit and those kind of things. We have a subwoofer back here. A really nice design load space too. Just really flat entry, really well lined, nice and squared off. And you can reach the buttons there for the folding seats, which I find handy, and it's not always possible on every vehicle, and 3 tethers for car seats. Now, before we go inside, I'm going to go and show you one other really annoying thing about the C10. Now, with any luck, this won't be a problem for long, but at launch, the car comes with a card to open. You get the one card to open it. And people are like, well, you know, BYDs come with cards, blah, blah, blah. there's no keys. So the only thing you can do at the moment is go to the driver's door, tap the wing mirror to unlock, and then you're in. Now, why is that problematic? Well, I've already experienced this once. Imagine you've got your kid in your hand, you're walking up, it's raining, you've got to walk all the way around the car from whichever door you've got your kid in, usually it's the back passenger, to unlock there before you can get into the vehicle. Similarly, if you're unloading groceries or loading groceries. There is a fix coming though. There is an app coming, very much what we're used to seeing with Teslas. It's going to be one of the few cars in the market to offer full Bluetooth key operation. So you have your phone in your pocket, you walk up, it unlocks. Until then, you've got to deal with this. Now let's have a look inside. Right, so jumping into the Leapmotor C10, you can very much see the Tesla influence in here. This is pretty much an entirely buttonless interior with the exception of the steering wheel. There is not a button anywhere else in this car. And it's for better or for worse. I mean, I like the fact it has this really nice clean design, but it does mean you're relying on the infotainment that we'll get to in a second. But to start the car, card on there for now, foot on the brake. I believe that'll go once we have app access. Now we have this kind of squared off a little bit steering wheel, nice metal trim on here. Feels cold at the time, so I wonder if there's actually real metal somewhere in there. Now there's controls in there for your driver assistance functions for the screen. There's two screens, a bit over 10 inches in front of you, and this 14.25 inch screen up here. The driver transmission controls and the adaptive cruise controls and lane keep controls are like older Teslas on the stick here. So down for drive, up for reverse, park on the end, and then double tap it down to get into your various driver assistance modes. We have through here relatively nice surfaces and materials used. So we've got this kind of soft touch material up here and down there. Once you get beyond that though, it is some fairly cheap light plastic. Again, the dash, soft touch there, bit scratchy down the bottom. We have this kind of big hidden vent that runs across the full width of the vehicle here. Nice big cup holders. You've got a wireless charger here, a really big bin in the center console, and more cup holders here for the back seat passengers. The glove box itself, it's okay, a little bit small. The seats though are big and comfy. Now they are multi-way adjustable on the driver's side with memory. So if we move here, it'll let you select which seat you want to save that positioning to from there. Similarly, electrically adjustable on the passenger side as well. Now, the steering is manually adjustable. The mirrors are electric, but you've got to do it through the screen, and it's something I still just miss having a button there. Tesla, they've done okay, these guys are okay, but I still like to have a button. Now, one weird thing in this car is the window switches, which are really nice metallic levers for some reason. They're really nicely designed, but they go backwards. So it's forward for down and backwards for up. A little bit odd. There is a massive, one of the biggest glass roofs I've seen outside of a Model Y in this vehicle as well. It's over 2 square meters of glass. But everything seems to be pretty well UV treated. I haven't noticed any particular feeling of too much light coming in the car, as I have found in things like the BYD Atto 3. Now, let's talk about the infotainment system. And it's actually pretty reasonable. It runs a fairly powerful Snapdragon processor, which those in cell phone land or those interested in cell phones will understand. It's very snappy, very responsive, and pretty well designed as well. So you've got various apps at the moment. You've got the 360 surround view cameras. You have navigation, which I have found really good as well. You've got music attached to your various apps that are whatever you're going to use, and then you've got hotkeys there all the time for your climate control. So you've got dual zone climate control, you've got fan control, you can direct where the air is going on either side using your finger. Yeah, that works all really well. Now there will be Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but they're not here yet. We're hoping to see those in the future, and I'm sure when we get along the lines with things like the cell phone connectivity and the like, we get a lot more features coming through. There is an app store on here, but from what I can see, there's not a huge amount of choice in there yet. You've got some EV charging maps, Spotify, Amazon Music, a browser, so theoretically you can watch things like Netflix. Yeah, hopefully more will come in the future. I'm assuming from that there's probably an Android base that's here somewhere, but for now, that yeah, isn't quite developed. Now you get 3 years of connectivity with the vehicle, 2.5 gigabytes a month is our understanding, so that works there. Now let's talk about the driver assistance features and some of the driver controls that run through this screen. You can do all your various things like set up your doors and windows and automatic opening and how high the tailgate goes, pretty simple stuff. Charging wise, you can schedule charging, you can see your vehicle load features, that kind of thing on the car. Shift your range between dynamic and standard, schedule charging. When you get into the driving, you have a lot of choices here. So this vehicle will do one pedal mode, set your creep mode, hill descent, comfort stop, everything you can think of. ADAS, you've got just a huge list. I'm going to put up the list when we go driving in regards to what the driver assistance features are that are there. Lots of them. But they all need to be done by the screen, so you really need to set them before you leave. And one of the downsides to that is that it actually restricts you sometimes from what you can set. So, for example, one pedal mode. If you use one pedal mode, great, that's good. But it locks you into whatever drive mode, so you've got Eco, Comfort, and Sport, you were in at the start. And you can't turn it off while you're driving. So Leapmotor, please make it so you can switch in and out of one pedal mode on the move, and similarly, that if you are in one pedal mode, that you can change your drive mode from within that system. Now, it does have a voice assistant. It wakes up using high Leapmotor. Yeah, it'll do your various things like a lot of the other cars will, the media, the AC, some basic vehicle controls, the telephone, that kind of stuff. Generally, you're going to bypass that once you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but, you know, good to know that it's there. Right, that's the front. Let's go check out the back. Now the back seat is where you really see the difference in size of the C10 to other vehicles in this price range. I'm a big guy. This seat is set for me to be well back in the car and, you know, comfortable in the front. And I have so much room back here. And, you know, you've got lots of typical but nice touches like a nice armrest here. You've got USB charging. The USB-C chargers in this car are 60 watts. That's really good to see. The seats are really wide, comfortable and bolstered. I think you could squeeze 3 adults back here as well. Completely flat floor, plenty of load room. I could wear a big hat. You got nice touch reading lights there. It's huge. I can't fault the passenger space in this car, other than, as I said, some of these cheaper scratchy materials. It just feels really good. There's also nice touches like ambient lighting. The sound system is really nice for a vehicle in this range, and there's a little subwoofer in the back which adds a bit of thump. Ventilation for the rear seat. These are all touches you expect from a premium car, and this car, price-wise, and again we'll tell you at the end, is anything but premium. Right, let's take it for a drive. Right, so before we take this thing for a drive, let's just note that this thing has a lot of driver assistance features. You know, lane keep, lane centering, blind spot detection, forward collision alert, adaptive cruise control, pretty much everything you can think of. But they are still being fine-tuned for New Zealand. So we're going to reserve judgment on those for now until they've told us that they are fixed. But it means you might hear some bongs. Now, most of that comes from that thing over there, the driver awareness camera. They admit it's not great at the moment. It is particularly troublesome when you've got glasses. It can't really see your eyes, and it really does want to see you looking straight ahead all the time. So we'll forgive that for now, but the next time we drive this car, we better expect those things to be sorted. So driving, it does have that transmission shifter over here like a Mercedes or like most Teslas up until recently. You get that underway. There's no start or stop button. It's just ready to go when you drive it. Now it does have a rather interesting sounding low speed warning noise. But of course, once you get up to speed, after you're about 25 kilometers, that disappears, or 30 kilometers. Now, it's rear wheel drive, 160 kilowatts and 320 Newton meters of torque. That's not massive, but it's not bad. Gives you a 0 to 100 of 7.5 seconds. And on the open road, performance feels good, particularly in sport mode. It's, you know, reasonable pickup, reasonably zesty, round town, plenty of power. It's just not got that sporty punch that a lot of people associate with electric vehicles, and certainly not if you're used to the power of, say, a Tesla Model Y. But, you know, gets up and goes reasonably well. I'm not going full throttle there, so I don't throw the cameraman out of the car, basically. What it does do really well is the ride. It is a very comfortable ride. It's a little bit firmer than what I've seen with my BYD Atto 3, and I like that. The chassis feels very stiff, feels very confident on the road. It's a really good all-rounder from that perspective. Road noise is pretty good as well, yeah, it's a quiet, kind of rattle-free environment. I'm pretty happy with that. The overall feel of it is probably a little bit closer, I think, to the Tesla than it is to the BYD, which I think is a positive thing for the Leapmotor. It's a good all-round compromise. Now, while we said we wouldn't talk too much about the systems, one thing that I have noted and I am pretty happy about is its performance on the motorway with its lane centering and its adaptive cruise. They work pretty well. To activate them, you double tap the transmission shifter. It does do a solid job of keeping the car in lane and keeping the car at a reasonable following distance to the car in front, though I haven't actually worked out yet an easy way to change the following distance, which is not ideal, but I'm sure I'll learn that in time. It's just something that's not intuitive with the car itself. Now, another couple of things we should note, this car will tow 1,500 kilograms of braked tow rating. Not massive in the world of mid-size SUVs, but not bad for an electric vehicle. Now, efficiency. This is something that I'm really pleased with the Leapmotor, and it has an efficiency that I haven't really seen from a Chinese vehicle before. This is closer to the particularly the Hyundais than anything else. So round town, with normal driving, I was seeing as low as 14 to 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That is really impressive. Now on the open road, down from my home to Auckland today, so motorway, 100 kilometers an hour, up and over some fairly big hills, averaging about 18 to 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's fantastic. And you take those two numbers and you could probably easily smash that 420 kilometer WLTP range. So overall, the Leapmotor C10, if you ignore the electronics for now, it's a really accomplished and really refined first product from a relatively new brand. So the Leapmotor C10, I am really impressed by this car. Let's talk the pros. Huge amount of space, feels really nicely built, drives really well, surprisingly efficient. On the con side, a little bit buggy in the software, and I think maybe there could be some nicer materials put into the car as well. And once you get that app, I think that'll be a far different vehicle to use on a day-to-day basis as well. That card is just annoying me just a little bit right now. But there's a lot you can forgive when it gets to the price. Now, it's hard to really judge the value of an electric car in New Zealand at the moment because there's so many specials out there. But taking the market at face value on list pricing, this thing is a bargain, $54,990. So that is kind of sitting in the middle of the actual list price of things like the Atto 3, not much more than a Motor E5, yet it's offering space equivalent to a Tesla Model Y, to bigger premium vehicles. That price is crazy. Now, there's a little bit of a niggle in there for me that it only comes with a 4-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty. Leapmotor, I do think, for a new brand where people still aren't quite sure of what the long-term proposition is going to be, that you need to match the likes of BYD and MG with their longer warranties. But still, you know, the battery warranty is 8 years, 100,000 Ks. It's not bad. So look, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hearing all about the Leapmotor C10. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great reviews and content from us here. Thanks.